Okay, we're here at the LEI conference at the Dutch Central Bank, and I'm talking here to Stephan Wolf. He's the CEO of GLIFE, and GLIFE is the organization behind LEI. But first question, what is LEI?
The
LEI.
The LEI is an identifier. It's a code, 20-digit long, no logic in it. It's just a dumb number.
Yeah.
But it links to reference data, like the name of a company, the legal form of the company, the address of the company. So very basic information that everyone needs in business transactions.
Yeah, it's worldwide, it's unique, and it basically identifies a company. But if I have that number, I can find also more about the company. What can I find out about the company?
And to those criteria, I would like to add open. It's an open data item that everybody can use free of charge for whatever application they have.
Yeah, so I just got my own line number. I basically asked it. It was connected to the Chamber of Commerce. But then if I type that in, what can I see? From what information about the company can I see?
Well, on our website, we have a search engine where you can type in a name and you get the LEI, or you type in the LEI, you get the name and things like that. And then you see very basic business card information.
Yeah, address?
You see the name, the legal form, the legal domicile, the headquarters address, but you also see the parents of this legal entity. You see the direct parent and the ultimate parent.
Yeah, the ultimate parent. I thought that gives me a little bit insight of where it's going.
If you click on the ultimate parent, then you see all the children.
Yeah.
And then the more people subscribe to that, you see the entire hierarchy of ownership within the group structure.
Yeah, so that would be unbelievably useful to have that identification. So now, you started when?
Well, the LEI system was actually in the aftermath of the crisis, and the regulators together with the private sector did like a 2 years exercise to create the system. The first LEIs were issued in 2012. Mm-hmm. My organization was founded by the FSB as a founding member, in order to have someone in the middle that is the gatekeeper, the compliance officer.
You're like the domain registration authority, like we have with .com names and.
So we're not issuing LEIs. That's what other organizations do, but we manage this network of issuers.
Yeah, you approve them and you test them and you do. Okay, so that is basically how many LEIs are issued now?
Over 1.5 million already.
And how many were issued the last year?
I don't know that, but might be roughly in the area of 150.
Oh, it's about 150,000, so it grows.
The big surge was every time big regulation came. 2017, 18 was MiFID, MiFIR.
Yeah.
That's where you see the big increase, and then year on year you see the moderate increase.
Yeah. So first it was because of legislation. You have to have a LEI. If you are in the financial world and you issue all kinds of products, you have to have a LEI. Is it going to be a product that more companies are going to use because they want to identify them not to the government but to other companies?
This is exactly what we're discussing internally since the last 3 years. The first years were pretty much to build the system. I mean, we had the mandate by the regulators, all of that needed to be set up. We had to find staff and build all the systems and everything else. We have now reached a point where we can turn around and say, look, we don't want to wait just for regulation because we see the value of the LEI in business processes. Yeah. And now we're reaching out to the private sector and discussing ideas and how they could voluntarily adopt the LEI for their own sake and own benefits. And quite frankly, this is amazingly well how this is perceived. We just did recently a study together with McKinsey, and they figured that if the LEI would be used just in the banking world, banks could save up to $4 billion a year in cost.
For KYC?
Just for not just KYC, all the banking processes that require identity at some point.
And if I'm in export and I basically want to find out who's this company and who does it own, then I could click on the line number and then basically know about it. So that would be very useful. But can it be done on a voluntary basis, or does it need legislation to make that necessary?
No. Anyone can apply for an LEI. It doesn't need legislation, but it's a big help, of course.
Well, it's the same as the Chamber of Commerce. Everybody has to register at the Chamber of Commerce. In some countries they don't. Does LEI need that also? That kind of very heavy legal support.
Let me give you a different example, which we like to use. In many countries in Europe, you have a national ID card, but when you want to travel abroad, you need a passport. Yeah. And that's pretty much what you have. You have a national code, national ID in your chambers of commerce, whatever. And then you add the LEI as your passport for all your international trade. Yeah. And together it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. I watched your webcast where you would explain that it was free to basically retrieve the information. I'm sure you can get more information and maybe pay a little bit more. You have to pay for registration. I did it myself. It cost about 65 euro. You received 12 of that. Where goes it in between?
So first of all, when it started, it was $220. So
you make great strides.
So one of our jobs was to create competition among the LOUs. So we brought in new organizations, and the price went down to.
Oh, so 65 is fantastic. It's really already much better.
The cheapest in the market is around 50.
Yep.
Now, there's still a lot of manual work involved in verifying and validating identity.
Yes.
So as long as we don't get to complete machine-readable data at some point, this manual work needs to be covered by someone, and
yep.
The system was chosen the way that the registrant who obtains the LEI pays for it, rather than the user. The user,
but we can expect
in
the future. We can expect in the future, and the use of the LEI is free, but the registration is a yearly fee.
And you can take my word for it. This is one of our biggest desires, to get the price down.
It's simple. If you just make it half the price, you get 10 times more demand, and I'm sure you want more than a couple of million. Then the question, which triggered me also, was blockchain. You said, hey, blockchain is something which could be useful. I mean, direction of self-sovereign identity of companies. How do you see that work?
Well, blockchain is a term that is used for multiple things.
I organize a conference around the blockchain. So
to whatever.
No, just blockchain for registration to verify information.
So we see two different areas which are not entirely linked. They're interoperable, but they're not linked together. One is blockchain as application. So you have applications for trading assets, virtual assets. You have applications out there for settlement of security trades and things like that. The participants on the chain must identify themselves using their private key. But then they have also the requirement to report the trade to the authorities.
Yes.
And then a link between the private key and the LEI must take place. We believe that should be on-chain. Right now, most of people do it off-chain, and that breaks the whole concept of immutable records. That's one application.
So it's a notary function. A notary function to verify the information,
The other topic is what's called self-sovereign identity. And we're investing a lot at the moment in exploring that better, where basically we create a hierarchy of trust on a distributed ledger, where Glyph creates credentials for the LEI issuer, the LEI issuer creates credentials for the legal entity, and the legal entity can create credentials for their employees, for their corporate officers and directors and so on and so forth. And with this, you can get an entire hierarchy of trust, which makes, for instance, a revocation so much easier.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I have many more questions, but this has to do for the start. Thank you very much for coming to Holland, and for the first 1.5 million companies on the LEI numbers, up to the 500 million.